I'm Zoidberg, and welcome to UK Gaming Network's Top 5 Games for May 2016. With this year's E3 looming just over the horizon, some of the biggest games from last year's conference have finally appeared this month. As a result, it's been one of the most competitive months we've had, with only a couple of disappointments. Only brand new games are included in this top 5, and you won't find Total War Warhammer anywhere as we've not played it yet. Games already released on other systems and HD reissues are not included, although if you've never played Valkyria Chronicles, you should definitely check out the Remastered edition which hit PS4 this month.
Number 5. Some buildings may cause adjacency effects to other buildings in neighbouring tiles. Let us take this into consideration when constructing new facilities.
The universe is now ours to conquer as the most popular strategy games on the PC have begun turning their attention to the stars. Civilization did it with last year's disappointing Beyond Earth, and now Paradox have taken their Europa Universalis template into space with the excellent Stellaris. What makes it work is that it's a much more accessible game than their previous titles, and setting it in the Great Unknown opens it up immeasurably. There are many different alien races to play as, interact with and wage war against. Choosing whether to forge alliances becomes an integral part of the gameplay, just as vital as what you're researching or building. The level of depth is quite startling at times, and it becomes all too easy to lose half a day or more to playing. Setting an alarm to remind you when to eat might be required. With the promise of DLC and mods to come, this is a game that's very hazardous to a social life.
Number 4.
Next up in our chart is Dude Raider 4, or Uncharted 4 as Sony would prefer we call it. Nathan Drake's latest globe-trotting adventures, taking in the exotic sights of Italy, Madagascar and Scotland, once again shows just how good Naughty Dog are at character, cinematics and story. The acting and script are once again nothing short of superb, and adding Troy Baker as Nathan's older brother is a masterstroke. The siblings bicker their way through a number of levels, with two of the best voice actors around clearly having a ball. It's a good job that the cutscenes are good too, as there's a lot to sit through before the action really gets going. But when it does, you're reminded why Uncharted is one of the best action series around, with some fantastic set pieces. Gunplay is fast and fun, and shows up the Gears of War series with just how good cover shooting can be, even in the unnecessary multiplayer. Uncharted 2 remains the series' high point, but this runs it a close second.
Number 3.
If developers are going to take inspiration from somewhere, it might as well be from a genre classic. Overwatch features the fast action gameplay of Unreal Tournament and fuses it to the characters and strategy of Team Fortress 2, and it easily deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as both. There's a character for every type of player, and they all have key strengths and weaknesses that, in the right hands, can turn the tide of battle. It's refreshing to play an online shooter where everyone is on a level playing field, regardless of how long you've played it for. Every weapon and ability is unlocked right from the start, and levelling up merely provides cosmetic enhancements for your chosen avatar. The official competitive mode should go live at the end of June, and when it does, we can see this following Blizzard's StarCraft 2 and becoming a player favourite for many years to come.
Number 2.
If you grew up in the era of the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, you'll probably have a special place in your heart for the isometric platformer. Lumo's goal is to grab at those particular heartstrings and pull them as hard as it can. Not only does the game successfully recapture the feel of Head Over Heels and Nightmare, including their difficulty, but it's also peppered with references to other games from the same era, none of which I'm going to spoil here. However, whilst the game uses nostalgia to get your attention, you'll keep playing because of the excellent level design and fun puzzles. There's always something new just around the corner, and wondering what's coming next will sustain your interest. With hundreds of rooms to explore and dozens of secrets to discover, it's guaranteed to last you a while too, especially with the old school mode that strips away the map, removes the ability to save your game, and limits your lives. Complete this and you'll have our total admiration.
Number 1.
Doom was the first game shown at last year's E3, and from that moment on it sat at the top of our most wanted list. With that much expectation, the final product could surely only disappoint, but the truth is it hasn't. This is, quite simply, the best first-person shooter we've played in the last 5 years, maybe longer. It succeeds where Doom 3 failed by dispensing with the plot almost entirely, and letting you get on with the shooting. Within seconds of starting the game you'll be blasting away at imps, demons and hell knights, and the action never lets up. If you stand still for a second during one of the many firefights you will die. It's fast, gory and gorgeous to look at thanks to the latest ID Tech engine keeping a rock solid 60 frames a second. The much talked about glory kills are a brutal and brilliant way to reward the player who takes risks. Add to the mix an excellent multiplayer mode that reminded us of Quake 3, and you have a package that we can't recommend highly enough. This has been UKGN's Top 5 Games of May, and we don't think we could have chosen a more varied mix if we'd tried. It probably doesn't match your opinion, so tell us what we got wrong in the comments below, and we'll see you next month.